Talk.
Yo.
All right.
Hey, yo. Dark skin Dr. Doom with a PhD in hood chemistry, aka fucking. Hey. Back on another episode of the PT Podcast, episode 3, with my compatriots and associates.
It's James Velour, the high note bandit. I'm here conversing with
Ayashi. You already know what it is. That's all I got.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know, man.
This episode we're doing this without headphones, so you know. If we sound a little weird,
That's why.
blame our audio technician. Send hate mail to at YoungPocketChange on Twitter.
Terry lazy ass.
I don't know what you're allergic to, but I'm gonna find out and just send him all of that. If it's peanuts, make sure I have a mailbox filled with peanuts. I'm on him. I'm gonna just put peanuts in everything. This burger tastes like yuck. You know it. Poison. Poison! Anyway, today I wanted to talk about discrimination versus diversity and how it affects our culture. Because I feel like, especially nowadays, there's such a thin line between like people trying to appreciate different cultures and people really like people almost mocking these other cultures and people of these other cultures for reasons that are outside of their control. So I want to start off by asking, do you guys think diversity is needed in society and specifically in small societal groups?
Yes, because it's it could help or hurt, but I feel like people being different is always needed. There's always that, because like you get to see things from multiple perspectives. If everybody was the same, that'd be kind of boring and problematic also.
Explain what you mean by diversity, because I'm stupid.
Diversity, like people having a group filled with people from different walks of life who've experienced different things and different, I guess, paths and experiences. Most of the time expressed by racial diversity.
Yeah, diversity is important to have, because like, I don't know, a lot of people come from like a lot of different walks. It's almost impossible to like not have diversity, you know?
I feel that. So you're saying like, regardless of the person, like the people who engage in these jobs will automatically be diverse.
Yeah, unless like, you know, they've been fucking pounded by society into not like thinking for themselves, you know?
I feel like not thinking for themselves is really not not applicable in diversity.
Yeah, if it was a carbon copy, that would be it.
Plus, more often, diversity is caused by like different circumstances and different environments rather than willingly being diverse.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think we can choose to be a diverse group of people. We kind of just are or aren't.
Mm-hmm. Nobody's born the same.
I asked that to say, like, let's say there's a small group of game designers, game developers. And let's say they're all white, they've all lived in the same area, they all grew up together, and they make a game. What's to stop them from making just as good a game as a group of ethnically diverse game developers?
Well, I feel like I would need more to that question, like just outside the race. Because like, what if they had like a different, like developers from a bunch of different like failed companies or stuff like that, or just they have a developer that's really old and they have one that's new, and it's just like, I feel like it would help in the sense of there were certain things that were tackled better because someone on that crew had the knowledge. And with diversity, I feel like, and extends to race too, like I feel like that what's important is that knowledge and that experience, because like you don't, like if you are lacking that area, that particular person probably excels in that area but lacks somewhere else where you exceed as well. So, you know, that's what.
When I asked, I meant more so racial diversity, like in a sense of having like people from different cultures who've been raised in different ways together in the same environment. What are you about to say?
So you mean actual like cultural diversity instead of racial diversity?
I guess I say racial diversity because people, especially when it comes to like jobs and employment, strive for racial diversity and will sometimes hire like a black person who has the same accolades as a white person for racial diversity to say, yo, I have this token black person. Mm-hmm. Our company's diverse.
Right.
Which means
making a quota.
They kind of look past the culture and more into the race, even though the culture is really what funds that diversity.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't really consider that diversity. Like, I don't know. Like, it's diversity, but forced in a sense.
Yeah.
It's like, You're just picking a nigga over a white person just because they're a nigga.
Right. But like to like what you said, there are plenty of diversity being as prevalent as it is now is definitely apparent, like in certain mediums like writing and movies and stuff like that, because before it was just a writing room full of white guys writing for a black guy, but now there's like a black dude in there, Spanish person in there writing for these people that we're now focusing on, and these different circumstances that we're now focusing on, that probably had a cousin that went through domestic abuse or something like that. And it's like, stuff like that. Not to say that a certain race will experience that more than other ones, but I mean just experience-wise.
Do they experience with these stereotypes? And because stereotypes are often funded by real stories.
Yeah.
And that these things are really things that happen more often in certain cultural groups than others. Which is perfectly understandable. I feel like that's not offensive. So would you say that there's a line of going too far to be diverse?
Yeah, because like I said before, like forced diversity is like I see it a lot. Well, not I see it a lot, but like it's seen a lot like when it comes to like college and shit like that. Like I forget what it's called, but it's like where they purposely like had a quota to get like this affirmative action. Yeah, like where they purposely needed this amount of like of black students in the college or any person of color in a college to reach a quota and stuff like that. And especially like white people feel slighted about that a lot of times because they feel like it's like a spot that's taken away from a white child just because they needed a person of color.
Now, do you feel like that's giving that person of color opportunity to shine despite the odds and giving them an equal opportunity, or do you feel like it's superficial and that this opportunity is almost like damned because of this forced diversity pick? Like, do you feel like people should be proud to be a person who's picked for diversity, or should you feel like, damn, they only picked me because I'm black, not because I'm more skilled than the other contestant?
You could definitely feel that way, but I feel like a foot in the door is a foot in the door. Like, you got there, so what you make of whatever you want of that situation.
Yeah, it's especially like I can understand like wanting to achieve something like that when you're on merit, but you also gotta realize like being the fact that we're black people and we're in like white America, essentially, like I don't know, there's a lot of odds that are stacked against us inherently because like we're black and like not even really because of anything that we did as like individuals, So like when it comes to stuff like that, I personally would just take it because like college is fucking expensive.
Yeah.
If these niggas trying to give me a full ride just because I'm black, shit, I'll eat some watermelon too. Like,
okay, well,
don't say that.
Trying to get us canceled. I forgot I was gonna say that. Do you think that like it's worth? Do you think the benefits of these? So what you're saying is like the benefits of these picks are still beneficial regardless of the circumstances, and regardless of like almost, how do I say, like almost the degradation of being like this guinea pig pick.
In some aspects, yeah. Like I don't know. Sometimes it could be more negative than other times. Like I can't really give it a specific like example, but I do know actually. I'm gonna reference one of my favorite shows in the world, Degrassi. And Degrassi, there's this one episode where Liberty got picked to be in a sorority to be like the token black girl, essentially. Mm-hmm. And it's like I forget why I was referencing this part, but like she pretty much left on her own merit because like she found out that she was like the token black girl and stuff like that. She didn't want to be like seen as the token black girl. Yeah. But it's just like, it all depends on your own personal values and stuff like that. Because, like, if I get picked to go to college, me personally, again, college is expensive. Yeah. I'm poor. Like, I'm taking that.
Now, to switch to a different aspect of diversity, because earlier we were talking about, like, the game developer example of a team composed of all white game developers versus a team composed of ethnically diverse game developers, and if they'll make the same game. And James was saying that, like, a diverse work history is what's more important in these situations than a diverse ethnical history of like companies hired and stuff like that. Would you say that consistency isn't the way to go then? So like when it comes to work diversity, should you try a bunch of different things, or would you be more likely to pick somebody who's done the same thing skillfully over a set period of time?
That's a very good question, and honestly, it depends on the medium and like situation. Because like if I was a director, say I was a director and I had to choose between two fight choreographers. One guy has a long successful career, but the last couple of movies he's done have kind of just been stagnant, like stunt wise and all that type of stuff. And then we have someone who's new, who just got into like who was I'm using this because I talked about it last time, who was like a stunt man and he wants to try and do this film and he feels like he can genuinely do it and he's just asking for a chance. Now I said the situation thing also because if it's like me as a director, I've had a terrible track record and I'm looking for this movie to be like my saving grace, I might go with the more unpredictable option. But like if I have a string of successful movies already, I would probably go with the vanilla stunt guy just to play it safe. But if I need this to be a hit and it was a young or new stunt dude or just maybe someone who's not young particularly or just new to stunts and doesn't have the work history but thinks they can really do a good job, I might try to choose that unpredictable aspect.
Mm-hmm. Like it's just like that unpredictable aspect like could be the one to bring like fresh ideas to the table and stuff like that.
New way of shooting things and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So you think diversity is almost like rewarding taking a chance?
Yeah, a little bit. I feel like that's kind of what because these are now people who didn't have that chance. Like large like companies and all that stuff were kind of prioritizing white people and certain types of white people, and now it's just kind of opened up. And now that you open up the gates, you don't know what you're going to get. It could be really good, it could be really bad, but the really good stuff kind of tends to float to the surface.
Okay, let's say you're making a movie. Your movie's all but done. You just need the soundtrack done. And you have two composers you're about to pick from. One composer has done good work consistently only for romance movies. He's the guy to call for every romance movie. And this movie has elements of romance in it. But this movie also has various other elements and various other types of scenes. And there's another composer who has done easily as consistent work with different genres going from romance into these movies. Not particularly stand out to make him a staple of that genre, but enough so to have experience in a variety of different situations and different scenes. Which one would you pick?
Personally, like I don't know, it's just like really relating back to diversity. I'll just personally pick like whoever's like track record or like sound like matches what I'm trying to go for the movie. Like if I'm going for like a movie with like a heavy romance plot or something like that, I'm not going to go for like I don't know someone who did the soundtrack for Blade Runner or anything like that. I'm going to go with someone who has that sound or has the ability or like think they can do like the ability to like make my soundtrack the best.
I don't know. I would go with the guy that's done like mid-grade different type of genres only because I feel like he might want it more. I feel like he might try to show up. But the other option would probably have like some pluses too if I have something that has subtle notes of romance in it, because then even though those moments will be far few in between, those moments will hit a lot harder. So it would depend. It would really depend. So I guess
I personally would pick the romance guy because I feel like in this situation, diversity might not necessarily be a great thing, and this man has been consistent despite like given circumstances. And I feel like because of this, maybe he's the hungrier one of the two, the person who wants to show that he's not just this romance guy and is open to the chance of diversity rather than the person who seems to already be diverse. Which is kind of what I'm saying in this argument as a whole and kind of like my stance on it, because I feel like diversity is definitely I feel like needed more on a societal standpoint than from actual efficiency standpoint. Because it all comes down to the individual and their experience and how diverse their experience is. Even in occupations typically dominated by a certain demographic, I feel like it still depends from person to person. Which, I mean, diversity means that the people who have the potential to be as good in different races and in different situations do get their picks and their says and still get to show their examples of how skilled they are and how professional they are as well. But like sometimes it also just comes down to the individual and to the person and to the experience and to the task. I feel like there's so many variables that diversity is being pushed in without first focusing on the individual and just pushing diversity for diversity's sake. Like I feel like a good example of this is Kamala Khan in the Avengers, first Muslim Avenger, and I absolutely love Kamala Khan. I feel like she's a great character, and I feel like Amadeus Cho was another pick for like diversity in comics. Both new characters, both fairly new characters. They're now starting to get more along the age in comics, but I feel like there was a time where diversity was definitely pushed in comic books as a whole, and to see how it affected that as a genre and how some of it was met with backlash because before writing they put diversity, and before interesting situations they put diversity. Would you say?
I'm one of those people that kind of thought that was kind of whack at the moment.
But then I feel like I preach diversity, and I feel like diversity is always a good thing. But then there's sometimes where you focus too much on it, you lose track of the goal when having a diverse cast of people. And is it really worth it at that point?
I think what you're like talking about is like the whole thing where like for a while like comics and like a lot of media seem to be pandering towards like certain audiences. I guess like what you said with like the diversity in comics and shit like that. Like people thought that they were like really pandering towards like, you know, black people and stuff like that, because like they came up with like a whole bunch of like not new black superheroes, black superheroes under the mantle of like legacy superheroes. Like people thought that Miles Morales was pandering, which I feel like he was to in a certain extent. Like I don't know, I feel like they shoveled in like the fact that he was bisexual and like kind of for just no reason. But like there is like a lot of stuff.
Who was that?
You didn't know?
No, he's not. It was a statement. She was saying that he could be bisexual.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't read too much into the Miles Morales comics. I haven't fell into comics.
Let's go on my boy Miles Morales. We can find this.
Miles Morales. I mean, Aqualad's gay, and I was just like, okay. I didn't know that's where we were going, but all right, cool.
I feel like that's a different type of diversity that sometimes is overstated, but I get it, especially with like the emergence of the like increase of trans people. I guess because now as society is changing, more people are open to this and it's becoming a more widespread thing. Not to say these people didn't feel how they felt forever, but it's now emerging into being a new thing. Like even when I was in high school, there definitely was a lot more trans people than the years before, and that's dope. Like I fuck with it. Like if you feel like you want to be away, bro. I don't care if you say you will. There's a lady that married a roller coaster, and like she can do her. Like genuinely, it doesn't matter to me. But at the same time, I started to see it being in media as well, and almost like a rebellious sense, like, oh, I'm this way, regardless of how you feel about it. And a lot of people do feel the way about it, but a lot of people also don't. I feel like that diversity is needed in some circumstances, but not every circumstance. Not every circumstance needs to be made about this thing and about the emphasis on diversity if it doesn't need to be and it doesn't affect the story in a way that helps you tell that story.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't think I had anything to say about that, but yeah.
That's kind of what I was gonna say. I think when people get mad, it's like when you're just trying to make a black character and not a character who happens to be black. And I think that's where a lot of people say, all right, well, now you're pandering. I'm not gonna like this character as much.
Mm-hmm.
But if you add something personal into that, or something to make them feel like a person and not just a character, or just like a mantle of some or a representation of something, that's when black people and other people of color can really connect to that thing. And make new heroes. Don't put it under a mantle. Don't make them have to live up to something. Just make new heroes. There are other ways of becoming a superhero. There are other places. So there should be no excuse for that.
I feel like that pretense of like now knowing that this isn't a standard, having to make it, shine all the more is kind of like corny in some sense. Like it seems disingenuous when you try to force this diversity pick. Like, wait, hey, look at me. I'm Rakid, the new African American superhero. Like that shit corny. Like yeah. I feel like a good example of this was Static Shock. Static Shock felt so genuine to me, especially as a black teen. Like I felt like Static Shock was a reflection of my lifestyle. We did a lot of the same things. Like it was genuinely approachable and relatable to African Americans without having to be, without having the need to be. He was Static Shock and Virgil.
Lock up in the